you're kind of always ahead of the curve and sometimes misunderstood because of that. Almost a futurist. So how does it feel to almost some of that stuff being caught up now? So when you say stuff, it's not as crazy, or people don't understand it. How does that feel now?
Oh, Mark, you described it so accurately. And you really are my tribe, man. You really are my boy. You
That's
really
right.
are. Futuristic is totally a way to describe me. And so, it's like I sat back because, as you said, years ago, we were dialoguing on this. I was feeding you these seeds, and it's so awesome when I saw you blossom. I was like, oh my God, those seeds that I planted in Mark have blossomed so beautifully. But I guess you can see I sat back like the old mother and and watched the kids run along and get schooled and play games of enlightenment and find themselves. And actually my book really was written years ago. 2011, I started a journey. I did a 9-day journey of sexual pleasure and healing through it. And it was amazing. So all I did was just enhanced and add on, and it was the foundation of the book that I'm holding in my hand today. I didn't know then. So futuristic indeed. I had already written this in many ways, and actually I have many other books that I'll be publishing
Mm.
because so much has happened over those years. And even as I watched my children find their way, mommy's been behind the scene also learning and growing and transforming, moving into Crohn's stage of my
Mm.
feminine progression. So, yes, that's why my book is for everyone, pretty much. It carries the voice of me as a mother. It carries the voice of me as a woman. And I want it to speak to the women in men. I want men to, understand the woman in them, and also that it can be a catalyst to improving their relationship with their women, the feminine side.
I love
It's all
that.
about understanding each other. So, it's easy for people to say, oh, it's for women, although I mention men in many places to balance it. But how are we going to shift and evolve? How are we going to elevate our conversations, our dialogues, and enhance our lovemaking sessions and heal each other
Mm.
if we don't know each other?
Mm.
So this book is an invitation to greater intimacy, which for me is the soul of love and sex. If intimacy isn't there, then you're totally empty. So sacred masturbation is really sacred intimacy
Mm.
in many ways. Yeah, it's starting with self. Mark, it's so funny. You mentioned the head massage. Boy, I got the most awesome, delicious head massage this morning.
Wait a minute.
Oh my God, it was so orgasmic.
Really?
Yes, it's so funny you say that. And I was like,
No.
oh my God, my head, it needed relief. So people are not even aware of how much tension they're carrying in their bodies. Oh,
Well, let me
it's so
say,
amazing.
and again, Surya Angelique Shofar or Surya Angelique Shofar, however you want to say it. Um, you know, we met Harold. Harold kind of introduced us, but there was a seminar, and you were on the seminar, and I was the host. And Harold
Yes.
introduced us. You were amazing there. And this was right after, so 2008. For those who don't know me or know my story, I've been in radio for like 30 years. And in 2008, after 9 years of being at Radio 1039, I'm sorry, and 92Q in Baltimore for like 9 years, I lost my gig. And I was kind of like, it's kind of like when you lose your job, that's such a big part of you. I think, you kind of start asking the question, well, who am I? And I got to say, we had, after we did the event together, I asked you for your information, and we hooked up, and you were my therapist for months, and it might even been a year.
Wow.
But like you brought so much to, like you said, you planted so many seeds, You opened up, uh, like you said, my feminine side and helped me understand. I remember I told you this just the other day. We have a psychic on, and just the other day she said something you said almost 10 years ago. She said, "Mark, she said you have all this air. You're in your head. You need to be grounded. You need earth." You told me I needed earth 10 years ago, but it was like, and like you said, I think I was trying to understand it. I was like, what does that mean? But then I finally understood what it meant. But I just, again, you planted so many seeds, and it really was at a special time because how it is. I was very vulnerable. I was kind of almost disconnected from my body. I was kind of like just kind of and you helped me through therapy, through our conversations, and then, like I said, through your touch. I mean, the fact that I remember that, the bald head and that coconut oil. Let me tell you something. That coconut oil was real, baby. But what you realize is people don't really understand the power of conversation and of touch. And I think we get in this rat race. Like working in New York, I really look at it. I'm like, yo, these people have to be a mess because to do that cycle every day, to hop on the train, it's funny because Penn Station is like rats because they post the time the train leaves, so everybody's standing there. Then when they go, and everybody runs,
rushing in
every day, and I'm like, that cannot be healthy.
It's the rat race.
They rat race. They get on the train, they go home. So now it's 9:00, and you got about an hour, and then you got to do it all over again. They need you. They need
not. Oh no, not yeah. I can go there and give them some love and healing, but I don't want to live there. I spent my first 7 years of my life living in New York, in the Bronx. Came from home, Liberia, where I was born, and so I learned how to talk and crawl and walk in New York. So I know New York. New York is like one of my homes, essentially.
So tell us, when people say sacred masturbation. I'm sure some people think, oh, it's a book about how to masturbate. But I'm sure it's much more than that.
A whole lot more. And even some of the points that you've brought, like the importance of conversations, the importance of the power of touch. These are topics I cover in the book. So if one gets stuck on the topic, just masturbation, which is okay if I'm luring them into my book, for them to come and find new information and learn more about who they are. But the combination of both words are so important because you don't find them together. They're estranged, and this book brings them together as partners, the divine and the earthly aspect of who we are. So that word. And in the book is very much about men, because I really explore man's thought, literally, not as in man and women, the human race, but the masculine thought, and how it has influenced our sexuality over the last century, and how that is changing now. And that change began where you and I met long during that time, but this book is helping us to become aware of that conversation, where it took us, how we are now, and where we need to go in bringing the feminine aspect of our sexuality, which is hugging, holding, receiving, conversations, listening, the intuitive aspect of touch, knowing, listening to the body, its language, which will slow us down, wouldn't it? Which what real lovemaking really is. The tantric philosophy highlights that. Slow is better, so that we don't miss our own selves. So we've got many blanks and gaps that we need to fill, and this book actually helps mankind fill that. Women as well, womankind.
So Angelique, how do we, my kids are, I have kids that are like, between 11 and 15. And sexuality now is talked about a lot, from the standpoint of, transgender and gay and different aspects. But it almost feels like we haven't even mastered talking about sexuality just you know, not even talking about the orientation aspect. so
Right.
so what does this, when you kind of throw on top of yet another layer of conversation, when we really, so in other words, in America, in some ways, people are afraid of sacred masturbation, to say that. So they're afraid of certain aspects of sexuality. But then to talk
Yes.
about orientation and almost talk about higher levels, you almost feel like it's almost going to college before you went to grade school. So how do you process what's going on, and what do you think it happens for that? Like my 12-year-old can argue me down about uh, heterosexual, gay, pansexual, and transgender, but they're 12.
Right.
Now, if I say sacred masturbation, she'll be like, "Oh, that's gross, Dad." So what's going to happen, and what do we do with all these questions and how things are now? I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it seems like we're almost putting the cart before the horse in a lot of ways.
Well, Mark, it is bad. So let's come back to that. Things are kind of bad, and they need to get better. Because, like you said, your daughters, they know these terminologies. That's the masculine way of sexuality, once again.
Mm.
Associations, just trends, assumptions, images that are planted, that are totally missing and void of spirit, the spiritual aspect, the intimate aspect, once again, of relating. So sexuality is almost just sitting there by itself, but when it comes to relationships and relating, it's usually just in the background and not brought up. And so there's no connection, intimacy is missing, and kids are just caught up in it more in a superficial way, just scratching. Parents need to become enlightened first because we're dealing with a generation. Mark, are you still there? Uh, we're dealing with a generation of, we're dealing with a generation that they too are not uh, enlightened enough.
Mm.
Because this is something that's been passed on from generation to generation. So yes, there has been some shift. The shift is happening. But the parents too they first need to change their thought. They first need to open up the dialogue and be able to open up within themselves and then with their children. I remember an acupuncturist saying to me a long time ago when my son was young, he said, to heal the child, you must heal the parent. So in order for our children to mature sexually, because there's definitely a deficit, a retardation, an immaturity around sexuality, in truth. And unless our parents are, taking that stand in enlightening and educating and growing in that area, you can't grow in everywhere else and not grow in certain areas. And sexuality is the basis, the foundation of who we are. So it's time that we own that truth. So which means that we've not been real people. We've not been truthful. We have been superficial. We have been liars in many ways. So if we
Mm.
think about that, truth is important, right? What are our values? What are your values? Do you want your child to be educated through the television, vision,
Mm.
or some magazine or billboard, or the standard text in schools? Or do you want your child to grow and find that essence, which is true life?
Mm.
That's the question. So
That's the great question.
in this book, I have a chapter that I write a letter to teens. Remember, I have a son, 18 years old.
Great
So,
kids.
oh my God, I have, I could write 2 books on our journey as mother and son in the realm of sexuality through our lives, that spirit, and how it's manifested, and how we have these open dialogues and can just talk about anything, and how here I am thinking that I am the coach and the therapist, right? But look, I gave birth to one. Imagine him 20 years from now. This kid is way ahead of his contemporaries, you know. So the experience of mother-child, that link that our children come through is thrown away or disregarded. I pull it back in to the picture, and I say it's as sacred as important. So let's come back to it and be fed by that. So finding the soul in who we are. Mark, our sexual energy, our creative energy / same thing, is the life force. So when I see people, I see dying people, zombies, because they're sexually depleted. Their organs have shut down, and they're shutting down right along with it. And it's in the eyes, is in the body, is in their health, the foundation of their health. If that part, which is our creative source and bowl, isn't well, our lives cannot be well. So the doctors won't tell you that, of course, but even science can prove that, the general public is very logic driven. But this really isn't about logic, which once again brings the feminine essence of our sexuality. It's time to put the books down. I'm looking at you, Mr. Airyhead. You're like all serious. Your eyebrows are coming in. It's like once again you're always in your head. So you gotta drop down into your body. You gotta occupy your body. People are not occupying their bodies. They're here. Okay, so you need to fill in, take residence in who you are, and then you'll be able to feel. Okay, because when you're up here, you're not feeling, you're avoiding the feelings. But we are feelings beings. It's all in the feelings and the sensation, the wisdom of that. Once people start feeling again, it's going to wreak havoc in this society and world, because that is what it is afraid of.
And so it's not too late?
Never too late.
And it starts with your book, Sacred Masturbation.
Absolutely. It starts with my book, Sacred Masturbation, Sensual Self-Smarts, and Sexual Healing Affirmations.
And so where can we buy it, and where can we see you, and how can we reach you?
The book is on Amazon. It's available on Amazon. If you Google Sacred Masturbation, I have a book page I've started on Facebook, and you can get it in Kindle or you can order it. But I tell you, you can start off with Kindle if you want, but you've got to get the book. It's about sensuality. It's about holding it in your hands. It's glossy. It's beautiful. It's feminine, so that we can soften our rough sexual edges. Women have become rough. We don't want our children to forget the gentleness of each other. It's no mad rush to an orgasm. It's the journey that matters. It's how we can learn more about ourselves and our bodies. Because if you're in your body, then nobody can tell you about your body but you. You're not looking to someone else to tell you, a doctor or whoever. You're living there. So if you're not right, the energy isn't flowing down there. That's like that. That's the generator. That's the power generator. When it goes off, everything else starts to go off.
Wow.
Starts shut down. Yeah. Your man married to a woman. They're no longer intimate with each other. The sex really went out the window. Now I'm speaking of two different things: being intimate with each other and sexuality. So when both of those are out the window, then they're both sad. They're both creating those bad hormones. They become angry. Then most times the dialogue isn't happening. No one wants to talk about it because they're not taught that. It's not the model. It's not the model. So sexuality, no, that's not really the problem. But it really is. It really is. So once we become comfortable with our own, then we're comfortable with each other's. And it's a bouquet of flower. It comes in so many flavors and tastes and smells and essences, which represents the human spectrum, So it's a fun thing that we need to be exploring through play and pleasure. We have been slaves enough.
Preach, girl.
Work. That mentality is dissolving. We need to play. Put the work aside and we need to play more and see how we thrive as beings. I'm 51 years old. I know someone looking at me will probably say, no way. But it's because I cultivate my essence. It is what carries me. When I stand up and I walk, when I'm moving, where am I moving from? I'm moving from that power, that area where the hips and the legs join, that propels us forward, right? It's that essence that moves us forward. And I'm carrying this powerful bowl within me, and I know it, and I see how people react to it and respond to it. But you're not going to know unless you can feel. If you can't feel, then you're just looking for something outside yourself.
I love you. I can feel your energy. I can feel your energy here in New York. You go, girl. Surya Angelique Shofar. The book is Sacred Masturbation. I gotta bring you to New York, girl. I gotta bring you to New York. Gotta do a book signing.
Yes.
So let's make it happen in August. But again, it's on Amazon. You can Google it on Facebook. You can go on Facebook, see, and actually, if they want to book you, same thing. How do they reach you?
You can reach me at ecosensualliving@gmail.com. That's ecosensualliving@gmail.com. Or you can call at 301-744-8244.
Angelique, a blessing to see you. I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited about your book.
I'm so excited that you're the first person to interview me. That is so special to my heart. I love you so much, Mark.
I love you too.
Watching you grow. Okay, so I'm going to come to New York, but you got to get out of New York. New York's not good for you.
No, I'm coming home.
I'm reading him, guys, right on air. New York's not good for you, but you had to go there and explore and explore something new. You're Gemini. You got to move. You're air. You got to move. So I understand. So I'll come and do a book event, and then you move on back.
Okay. Bet. Let's do that. Thanks so much, Angelique. Surya Angelique Shofar. A book is Sacred Masturbation. And thanks so much, love. You are my first interview on my app also, so I'm excited about that. So
awesome.
And I'm going to tell you about that so we can get your own app. You need your own app, okay? So be good and have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Thank you, Mark. Bye, everyone. Be well.
Our guest, Surya Angelique Shofar. Had a great time with her. Please get her book. Obviously, she's dynamic. And, I love the sacred masturbation aspect because, like she said, the kind of two words that don't normally go together, but it's so true. And, like I said, when we used to have our sessions, we talked about, I thought I was well connected. And I think I probably, especially after you lose your job, you're in denial about a lot of things. And, ask yourself, are you in touch with your sexuality? Are you in touch with yourself? Yourself, your person, your feelings, are you walking around and feeling disconnected? Are you and your significant others and your friends and even your kids? Is there a certain distance? Then you might be disconnected from you. And, Angelique with her book, and even if you're talking to her, she helps you get connected to you. Again, if you feel that blah or you're in a relationship and you're feeling kind of, a lot of times it's because you're not really connected. What are your wants? What are your needs? What are you about? What's your furnace like? And I think she's sharing a great point. Like, we talk about sexuality a lot, but we don't really talk about the feeling aspect of it. What do you feel? How do you feel? What's your, what's the intimate nature and the vibe? Not just theory, but what's the vibe of sexuality of your life? So, okay, man, that was a good show. I enjoyed it. And I'm so excited because my app has a chat feature now where we can, during these interviews, we can chat. And so I'll be doing more and more things on my app. So make sure you download it. It's MarcClarke, Marc Clarke, on your Android or your Google Plus, your Android or your iPhone. And get the app. It's free, and we got big things happening this year. All right, that's going to be a wrap for me on The Mark.
You're watching On The Mark with Marc Clarke, a weekly show. Call in right now.
You're kind of always ahead of the curve and sometimes misunderstood because of that, almost a futurist. So how does it feel to almost some of that stuff being caught up now. So when you say stuff, it's not as crazy, or people don't understand it. How does that feel now?
Oh, Mark, you described it so accurately. And you really are my tribe, man. You really are my boy. You really are. Futuristic is totally a way to describe me. And so, it's like I sat back because, as you said, years ago we were dialoguing on this. I was feeding you these seeds, and it's so awesome when I saw you blossom. I was like, oh my God, those seeds that I planted in Mark have blossomed so beautifully. But I guess you can see I sat back like the old mother and, and watched the kids run along and get schooled and play games of enlightenment and find themselves. And, actually my book really was written years ago.